What's up everybody, I'm HoopsandHipHop. Today I'm going to be telling you guys about some Pokemon games you might not know about, but really quick before we get started, I'm proud to say that this video is being brought to you today by the good folks over at Amino Apps. They're the creators of community apps like Pokémon, Zelda Amino, and many more, and they can all be found within the new Amino Master app. Here you can easily access any community you want, and you can even create your own community with the Amino Creator app. To find Pokémon, simply search Pokemon under the Explore tab and you're good to go. It's a great place to talk Pokemon, and if you follow me on there, I'll follow you right back. There are also plenty of other great users that are great to follow and talk to. Everyone is really friendly. To find the app, simply search Amino in your phone's app store. It's completely free, and downloading it will really help to support the channel. Now that we've covered that, on to the video. Alright, so as we all know, Pokemon is a worldwide phenomenon, and whenever you're dealing with a franchise this popular, there's bound to be merchandise of all kinds, whether it's games, toys, or even underwear? With that being said, there have obviously been tons of Pokemon games released outside just the main series in order to properly cash in on the franchise's popularity, and some are more popular than others. So today, I'm going to be discussing 10 Pokemon games you might not have heard of. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more, and without further ado, let's get started. Alright, how about we start with a Pokemon game that was developed by Square Enix? You know, the guys that make Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts. You're probably thinking, how have I not heard of this game? Well, that's because it's a mobile game that was released in 2006, and it was only released in Japan. If there was ever something that perfectly represented the term wasted potential, this would be it. This game is largely just a messaging app that allows players to chat, and the Pokemon part comes in the form of catching and caring for them rather than making them battle like in the regular games. Adding insult to injury though is the fact that the game can't even be enjoyed fully without paying a monthly subscription fee, since the player can only catch up to 10 Pokemon before they have to start paying. Like I said, wasted potential. The next game on this list is an arcade game by the name of Pokémon Bat Rio. Released in Japan in 2007 and in Taiwan in 2010, Bat Rio is similar to Pokémon Stadium in that the sole focus is on battling. The reason Bat Rio is noteworthy is because it implements triple battles, hence the name Bat Rio being a combination of the words battle and trio. Since the game was released in 2007, it came over 3 years before Black and White, when triple battles were first introduced into the main series, meaning this game could have possibly influenced the feature's inclusion in Black and White. The game also requires special pucks in order to play. Pucks, much like Pokemon cards, contain different Pokemon with their own stats, such as HP, attack, and defense. Players would scan their pucks into the game and then be able to use that puck's Pokemon in battle. However, Pokemon Bat Rio was eventually replaced with a successor game called Pokemon Treta in 2012. Treta is largely the same as Bat Rio, but with more features, such as being able to catch Pokemon, and that is where our next game comes into play. So this next one is interesting, because it barely qualifies as a game, but nevertheless I thought it was worth mentioning. Pokemon Treta Lab was a companion game to the aforementioned Pokemon Treta that came in 2 parts. The first part was the Treta Scanner. This was a device that connected to the 3DS, and as you might expect, allowed you to scan Treta, which are the Pokemon Treta equivalent of the pucks from Bat Rio. The second part of this game was an app available on the 3DS eShop called Pokemon Treta Lab Main System. When the 2 parts were used together, players could scan their Treta to get information on them, in a vein similar to that of the Pokédex 3D Pro. They could also compare 2 Treta, as well as battle different opponents. This is another game that was exclusive to Japan, but still pretty interesting nonetheless. This next one is probably the most well-known game on this list because of its quirkiness, as well as the fact that it actually saw an English translation in Europe and Australia. Learn with Pokemon Typing Adventure is an educational game that is intended to teach people to type. The weirdest thing about this game is that it's for the DS, and actually came bundled with a Bluetooth keyboard. It's not like it would have made way more sense to put this game on the Wii or even the PC, but whatever. The game is obviously designed for younger children, but older people can enjoy it too, as some of the later levels are said to get pretty difficult. I remember enjoying the typing games I played in school, so there's no doubt I would have played the heck out of this if it came to America. The game worked by encountering wild Pokémon and typing their names in order to catch them, and after a few stages, you would encounter a boss Pokémon. There are actually 403 Pokémon of the then 649 available in this game, which is a pretty high number for a smaller spin-off game such as this. There's a pretty good video on this game made by Jimmy Wetzel that covers it a bit more thoroughly, so go ahead and check that out if you're interested. This game might have not been on PC like it maybe should have been, but believe it or not, there are a few Pokémon games that made their way to the PC. Okay, so this is where the pace of the video is going to pick up a little bit, because honestly, the rest of these games are pretty simple, so there isn't really a whole lot to say about them. The first of these is Pokémon Project Studio. This was a PC game that released in 1999 and came in two versions, red and blue. The purpose of the game was to make various Pokémon-themed crafts. You could make calendars, signs, postcards, greeting cards, and more. The game contained stock art of various Pokémon that players could use in their projects, and like the actual red and blue versions, the games each had version-exclusive Pokémon. The amount of exclusives for each version was actually pretty high. Each version only had 81 of the possible 151 Pokémon available, meaning almost half of the Pokédex was exclusive to one version or the other. Thank goodness it wasn't this bad in the main series games, or catching them all would have been a heck of a lot harder. Next up is Pokémon Masters Arena, another PC game released exclusively in North America in 2004. This game is a collection of 8 minigames. The games are Match a Pokémon Team, Pikachu's Picture Puzzle, Spinda's Mahjong, Pokeball Mystery Challenge, Pokémon Trivia Challenge, Mudkip's Bingo, Trico's Word Jumble, and Why Not's Water Slots. Once the player beats all 8 minigames, they will earn 8 posters which can then be printed. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, simple. The last of the PC games on this list is Pokémon Team Turbo. Also released in North America in 2005, Pokémon Team Turbo is a racing game that also features mini-games where you can earn power-ups for the races. You can choose to do any of the races from the start of the game, as well as any of the mini-games. There's also an adventure mode where you can play the races in order with the mini-games in between in order to get power-ups for future races. So, like I said, these were pretty brief, but don't worry, because I have saved the best for last. These last 3 games are the most interesting ones on this list, because they weren't even made for a Nintendo console. In fact, they were actually made for a Sega console. That's right, not 1, not 2, but 3 Pokemon games were made for a Sega console known as the Sega Pico. The Sega Pico was an edutainment console that had games focused around learning, and it used book-shaped cartridges known as storyware. There is almost no information about these 3 Pokemon games, but I will go ahead and tell you what I found. The first game is Pokémon Catch the Numbers. Released in Japan in 2002, the game sets up a story where Team Rocket has stolen nearly all of Ash, Misty, and Brock's Pokémon, and the player needs to complete a series of math-related mini-games in order to get them back. The next game, called Pokémon Advanced Generation, I've Begun Hiragana and Katakana, is made to teach Japanese children how to read and write. It once again involves Team Rocket badgering Ash and friends, disguising themselves and saying they need to catch Pokémon in order to continue on their journey. Players can catch Pokémon by correctly drawing various Japanese characters. And the last Pokemon game for Sega Pico is Pokemon Advanced Generation Pico for Everyone Pokemon Loud Battle. Other than its release date, July 13th, 2004, I could literally find no information whatsoever about this game. Bulbapedia didn't even have anything on it. Despite the huge lack of information on these games, they are still immensely interesting because of the fact that they were on a Sega console, and the lack of information, even though they aren't super old games, makes them really intriguing. Well, there you have it. Those are 10 Pokemon games you may not have known about. I really hope you guys learned something today, and if there was at least one game on this list that you hadn't heard about before this video, then I think this video was absolutely worth it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more Pokemon videos and remixes. And as always, I'll smell you guys later.